So these are things that you're trying to cover for a mistake that you're throwing out there. As far as a lousy record, documented again in the Supreme Court decision. It was not clarified. They did not have a bad record. It was just a quote from the lady over in Putnam Valley, and she corrected herself. They do not have a bad record.
She corrected herself after she was pressured by some guys. That's what happened.
So you're talking about corruption then? Pressured by some other guy? This is an industry tainted with corruption. I don't like $900,000 of the tax community's money going out. Okay, Mr. Gross? If you want to continue to cover for this mistake, the first mistake was made when you voted. When you voted, and I did not vote, and the supervisor did not vote for the higher bidder. We're up to this point now, and you wish to spend more legal fees to defend spending, $900,000. Whose integrity is to be questioned on that? Whose?
I think the situation we have right now is that we have to support the determination of a previous town board who made a decision that Santa Pro was a more responsible company, and they felt that they should have the contract. Although this is not a lawsuit involving the town right now, there is a very strong possibility that if this is overturned and if AAA is granted, found that they should have gotten the contract, the town could be sued. And I think we have an obligation to protect the town's interest going forward. So just to ignore the situation and let them fight it out, I think puts us in a bad spot. And as far as the garbage, I think the fact that, as Councilman Gross just said, the fact that they didn't have a license, they had bad recommendations, they shouldn't have been considered in the first place. And we are paying less in 2010 and 2011 than we paid in 2008 and 2009 for garbage. And we have a responsible company, and we just can't ignore the situation. I think that would be irresponsible.
And just
well, the bottom line is that this recommendation is to enter a commercial dispute in favor of the higher bidder, who is a client of the law firm of Vinnie Leibel in the past, and now is a client of Mr. Curtis, Timothy Curtis of Carmel, who was Mr. Leibel's former law partner until Mr. Leibel was disbarred automatically upon conviction of a felony. So what we are talking about is continuing to protect what looks to me like business as usual in Putnam County, notwithstanding the recent events. And I recommend against this proposal.
And just so that it's clear, this wasn't a matter of an expired inspection or an expired registration. AAA Karting had never obtained a permit, according to what I heard and according to what I read. They didn't have the permit.
Liz.
Well, I'd like, if it's not true, I would like for the supervisor to bring proof positive that they did indeed have a permit and it just simply expired and they just doggone it, forgot to get a new one. That's number one.
You can do your own homework.
No, I can't do my own homework because the supervisor continues to make statements that are unsupported, and then when asked to support them, either says something that completely obfuscates what he wants to say. And when, I mean, if it were me, if I wanted to prove something, tonight I came to you about the taxes, showed you a chart, which, by the way, the chart about the taxes is going to be on the Southeast Town website. So please look at that. Okay. But the bottom line is, right now, it's not like just some kind of a, inspection sticker, gosh darn it, expiring. No, this was very important. And by the way, if they had no vehicles and no trucks, then how did they have any real record at all? I mean, if they didn't have the equipment, and by the way, I personally looked at the bid, and it was not typed. Every other bid was typed. This was written in handwriting. And as far as being written by a crayon, I suppose it might have been. I didn't see the actual document.
You're out of order.
But in the meantime, the other interesting piece is they didn't submit any financial records. There was no financial statement submitted with it. That was duly noted. And I've said this 1,000 times and promised myself I wouldn't start off the year by having to say it, but here we go again. The bottom line is Justice O'Rourke did not say in his decision that the Santa Pro that there was any criminal influence. I invite you all to read the decision. What had happened was he made a recitation of the facts presented by each party.
Liz, that's your
He did not
interpretation.
say. That is not an interpretation.
Yes.
I would ask Supervisor Wrights to reread, as I have several times, but I know he hasn't reread it, because if he reread it, he would see that it was true. Or, if he
Yes,
didn't
I
see
have
it was
read
true, I know any layperson who would
speaks for
who would see
itself
that. And it
without
certainly
there's
does.
being
And
characterized
any
by
sort of
you.
interpretation by him is absolutely incorrect. And if you really want to find out, call up his court attorney who's still over in the Supreme Court, and she'll tell you that. So just in case you want to know, that's the truth. So amongst other things, I want to make sure that you all know that this is also an RFP to secure an attorney who is going to protect the integrity of the town. Yes, our town. The majority of the board voted for this contract. The majority of the board. That was what happened. We need to maintain in the eyes of the Court of Appeals and the eyes of the people of the state of New York our integrity. And quite frankly, that's another reason why we must do this. Set aside the fact, even though we really shouldn't, that we might be facing multiple amounts, a lawsuit for sure from AAA since they sent a letter saying that. And you know something? We can't afford it.
Let's move on, Liz.
So what I would ask again is this
time,
board
all right?
to...
Hour's late.
To do that.
And you're repeating yourself. All right?
Okay,
So there's-
so let me just read from the Supreme Court decision, just to clarify something.
Can
This
you
is from
imagine?
Justice O'Rourke.
Can you
AAA
imagine?
states, had Councilman Honick and/or Johnson extended the same courtesies to AAA as they did to Suburban, they would have learned that AAA, who is the lower bidder, 1, conducts monthly safety and training meetings as required by the DOT. AAA's insurance carrier does routine checks on all drivers. AAA is registered with Clarity Testing, which performs random drug and alcohol tests on AAA drivers. AAA conducts pre-employment screening and background checks on all employees, including drug and alcohol screenings. 50% of AAA staff are men with over 20 years of experience. AAA has daily inspections of its vehicles, has 4 full-time mechanics, and a fully stocked parts department. 70% of AAA's trucks are 2000 or newer. 13% of its trucks are specifically for refuse collection. AAA's combined site has 6 acres and larger than Suburban's campus. You know, I can go on and on with the ruling, and that's what it says.
No, he can.
Ms. Hudak, please.
Pardon
I
me.
gave you the floor.
You've spoken at length.
And, Ms. Hudak, you have said time and time again that you serve on this town board not as an attorney, but as a councilwoman, as a member of this community. And I would then ask you to use some common sense here as a councilwoman, and not as an attorney, looking at this from the perspective of the law and your brief that you want to prepare, and how much this is going to cost the community. Look at your integrity as to what has gone on with this garbage contract from day one, from the low bidder suing, to going to the Supreme Court in Putnam, to the appellate division ruling, and now faced with the state's highest court of appeals to review the case. I would ask you to really reconsider what you're looking at this moment, to watch the integrity of this town in light of the corruption scandal that has gone on. I really wish that we as a community could look to save money and to stop playing these games.
I think-
Let the chips fall where they may. There are numerous people looking at this community. When you talk $900,000 in an industry tainted with corruption, something doesn't smell right. I will continue to fight it, and I will fight the corruption wherever it may be.
I would ask Councilmember Yee to now dial up the appellate division, second department decision, and read it. And any layperson can read it.
And I will
reading
summarize it for
reading
you. It
as-
basically said that
reading
the
it as
town, they
I
will
am
not
being
get involved in what the
interrupted,
town
reading it
spends,
as a
as long
lay-
as it's not illegal.
reading
In other
it
words, you
as
can spend
a-
as much as you want in the
I don't know.
community.
Now, I'm
but
being
the
told
town-
I interrupt, and I
you
get
can
talked
spend as
over all
much
the
as you
time.
want. The
How
courts
do
will
I
not get
turned-
involved in that.
Is this-
That's what the
Is this the
briefing
appellate
stated.
division decision?
Yes.
Oh, the appellate
Please wrap
division
up.
decision, do you have that?
You-
I would
you
like
asked
to
me,
look
and
at
I
the
just-
appellate...
you just-
I'd like
Wrap
to see
up.
the
You
appellate
just-
division decision.
Please wrap up.
No, I am going to wrap up because the appellate division decision said that the lower court, the Supreme Court, could not
Please take your seat.
substitute.
Thank you.
You're covering your
could not
mistake. Thank you.
substitute its own determinations for that of the town board. Now, if Councilmember Yee has the appellate division second department decision on his computer, I would like to see it. And unless he wants to slide that computer over to me, I have to
Please,
stand up to
please.
see it.
We have to,
Therefore,
we have public comment.
Therefore, right now, everyone should go on, and once again, the town clerk will have the decisions. The second department said that what Justice O'Rourke did was wrong. he could not do what he did. He could not substitute his own view of what occurred, that the town board was the best entity to do so. So that's what happened. So
Okay.
when you cite a lower court ruling which has been overturned, it's incorrect.
Okay, so
And
we'll
any
let the state's
layperson
highest
would
court
tell you
look at
that.
it then.
Yes, I do. I
Okay,
agree.
there's public comment. Yes. Welcome, thanks for joining us this evening.
Maria DeSalvo again. My family's been in the private sanitation business since 1962. So we don't like to hear the word garbage so much. So if you can rephrase it to sanitation, it would be a lot better. And of course, the industry's been tainted with corruption. But the usual process is to underbid, not overbid, is what this company did. So there is something that smells. As far as you're concerned about the fellow who had the low bid, not having trucks or anything in line, I've bidded on contracts. You get approved for a line or a letter of credit with your bank. You get approved for leasing trucks. You're not going to lay any money out beforehand unless you know you're getting the contract. And that's how it's done. I don't know the history of that company, AAA. I do know the history of SanaPro and what they were before down in Westchester.
Yeah, they're different owners now.
They're not different owners.
Yes, they are.
You don't have a vowel after your last name. They're not different owners. I use them at my place. I don't care. I don't care. I'm proud that my family's in the private sanitation business. All right? They're not the different owners.
the tax
I don't know what's
assessors
going on
are-
with the garbage contract, but to pay $1 million more is ridiculous.
Thank you.
Or $900,000 bid is ridiculous.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Salvo. All right, there's a motion.
All right, is there
Is there a
hand in the
second?
back? We have-
Pardon me.
Zoning Board Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Colella.
Thank you, Mike. I'll be very quick. You can't hear me?
Just turn it around.
It's okay, I'll look at it. Michael, I have to say this out loud. When we come to the meetings and we see what's going on, the issue of whether or not you pick the right carding company, that horse is gone. Okay, it's gone. We can't listen to this debate anymore because it's not relevant to the issue. The issue is, are we at risk, meaning as a town, of being sued for a ton of money? Now, Dwight, earlier you said, which I'm glad you said, we have to stop this ridiculousness, we have to get along, we have to work together. The motion is to ask for a request for a bid. It's not to hire a man or a woman. It's not a commitment to spend a fortune. Maybe, and I'm looking at 3 attorneys here and the other smart members of the board, maybe you should think about putting out the RFP, finding out first what it's going to cost us taxpayers, to hire an attorney, which could possibly save us a ton of money, and then you can make an honest decision as to whether it behooves us to hire this man or woman. That's what makes sense. We cloud issues. We go back in time. It kills us to sit here and watch it, and it kills you to relive it, probably.
Yes, it
What kills me?
You know what I mean?
What kills us?
It's not the way we should run things. All I'm saying is my opinion. What's the big deal about seeing how much it's going to cost? You guys can do your homework. Maybe Willis wants to do some more homework, our town attorney, and then you make an honest decision knowing what it's going to cost you if it's a need for us to do it. That's all I have to say.
Noted. Thanks, Ed. All right, let's move on. There's a motion and a second for, as described.
With one exception, I'd like to amend my motion that the RFP, the date that I had previously stated as January 20th, 2011, be amended to January 27th, 2011. Okay.
And the reason?
Yeah, is
Reason
there a
is-
reason?
Yes, just to make certain that the RFP is properly advertised and there's enough time for as many people as possible, as many attorneys as possible to put in their proposal.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second.
Councilman
Roll call
Cullen?
vote, please, Ruth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hudak?
Yes?
Councilman Yee?
No.